Welcome to APDesign Digital Tools. We're going to create a new family now. We're going to actually create the curtain wall panel. So go ahead and save, and in here we're going to grab the curtain panel pattern based. Alright, so you should see something like this. You'll have adaptive components on four corners. So essentially this is just kind of a specific family that already has those the corners that you'll need to apply this to a curtain wall system. Alright, so what I want you to do is to go back into your Spider assembly and go ahead and load that into this new family. And it might be a good time to go ahead and save. So this will become our Spider panel. And you should see now that bracket trying to cling on to something, grab something. So I want you to set to a horizontal, one of the horizontal adaptive nodes, and put it in, and then set again, and work around the horn until you've done that to each one. So each one I'm hitting the set, grabbing that, and putting it in place. So you can check that now, make sure that it's working by moving these around, and they should follow. Okay, so it looks like everything seems to be working okay. Okay, so now we have those set, and we want to create our sheet of glass. So to do that, we're going to, you might want to kind of create it from a series of points that are already here, a series of lines that are already here. But unfortunately what that does is that if you don't have a small space between your panels of glass, you won't really see that in any rendering. You won't see, it'll be almost as if the glass is invisible because it won't really show that facet, that edge. So we're going to build in that little bit of an edge. So to do that, what I want you to do is grab the opposing adaptive component, adaptive points in that diagonal, and I want you to create a spline through points and then make that a reference line. Okay, and then do I think we want to do the same with this set. So let's go ahead and do the same. Make sure it's a reference line. Don't forget to do the reference line. Alright, then we're going to put a point, and we're going to make sure it snaps to that guideline. If it doesn't turn blue, it's not going to snap. And we're just kind of putting a point somewhere close to the edge or the corner. Okay, so now what we're going to do is going to grab each corner of those points and then create another reference line. And another reference line. More, and then we'll finish it up. And we are going to make these reference lines. Alright, so now we've got them as reference lines. Now let's go ahead and create the form. Let's do a negative offset. I guess where we're going to handle this is that we're going to give it a negative offset. And we'll add glass thickness. And let's go ahead and change the glass thickness to 2 inches. So okay. So if yours happens to be like mine, it's going in a downward direction, I'm just going to use that negative offset, and then we want to apply that to glass thickness. And raised up. That all looks good. Okay, we're back in business. 1 inch. Apply. Everything moved. Awesome. Okay. So click on each node, and you'll notice that it has this kind of 0.19, or it may have a different number depending on where you placed the point. But all it's doing is saying that this is really close to the beginning, or essentially if the beginning is at 0 and the end's at 1, this is 0.19 along that edge. So if I change this to 0.1, it's going to move closer to that point. And the closer I get to 0, the closer this number gets to 0, the closer this will get to 0. And the vice versa would be the same. So the closer this gets to 1, say 0.9, the further it moves along that line. So alright, that doesn't really help us. 0.05 is not really any dimension that makes any sense. So we want to change this normalized curve parameter to a segment length. And you can see that now we can see that this is 8 inches. Well, that's okay, 8 inches, or I could say a certain dimension, but we want it to be kind of roughly always the same. So I'm going to put it within 0.25 inches of the beginning. And so that'll essentially give me pretty close to a 3/16 or 3/8 inch gap between a panel that's here and a panel that's like over here or here or here. So that's what I'm going for. And so I'm going to change this to segment length, and I'm going to say 0.25 inches. And I'm going to go back here, I'm going to grab that, and instead of going to the beginning, if I leave it here and I put 0.25, it's going to shift all the way over to here. So I'm going to do segment length, and I'm going to put the beginning to the end. And I'm going to say I'm 0.25 inches away from the end. And I'll have to do the same with this one. So that'll be end, and I'll want to put segment length, and I'll put 0.25 inches. Alright, so that's good. Alright, now we'll assign again the glass material. Sorry you have to do this twice. That's okay, we'll survive. And then let's see if this one, we'll edit type. Spider material hasn't been reproduced, so we'll go add that spider material. Just make sure this gets passed on as we move through the nesting, and say okay. So now that's been assigned. Glass great. Alright, so now we have our glass component, and now I think we're ready to populate the world. So what you want to do now is load this into your project 2, and let's go to 3D view and get inside your mass and click on one of these, and what you'll notice right over here, we have no pattern, and you should now have a SpiderPanel pattern. So you're going to click on that, and now it's populated the world. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and see if all of our parameters have been kicked in the right way. So I'm going to edit type, and I am going to give it a glass material. Let's see, we'll just type in glass, add that, say okay. Give the spider a material. Let's go with metal. Let's go with no, not aluminum, stainless steel. And we'll give it some funky color so we can see if it actually is doing something. So okay, apply. Have to wait for it to render. See if it worked. Now it looks like it worked because it gave it transparency, but remember we're in I think a hidden line mode, so let's do the shaded mode, and we'll see here it looks like everything's working. The stainless steel looks grotesque, and the glass looks like it's transparent. So we've achieved that. Awesome. We might want to go ahead and switch that material. You can do it under managed materials, and let's just give it a kind of a nice gray, darkish gray, or maybe even a light gray. Apply. Okay. Alright, there you go. There is one last modification we're going to need to do. As we look at the spider clip, one can imagine we have actually kind of a redundancy at each point, because each panel has kind of the clip, the bracket that would hold, the other pieces of glass. So we should take care of that, because when we get into kind of a very weighted model and you start to render everything and try to build everything, it really is trying to keep track of all of that. So let's go ahead and go back into your panel, and let's talk about, oh, not that one. Let's go ahead and close that. So go back into your SpiderPanel, and we're going to need to go then even further back into this part. Alright, so in here we're going to create, we're going to see under visible, we can turn that on and off. I want you to click on its associated family parameters, and we're going to create a new parameter. In fact, I'm going to grab, let's see, the top right one here, and I'm going to go back under visible and add parameter, and I'm going to call this the bracket 1, and I'm going to make this an instance. So say OK, and then I'm going to click on this one there, add another parameter, bracket 2. Essentially I want each one of these to be able to be turned on and off as needed. Okay, and then load 3. I'm just trying to go in order so that I have some reasonable chance of figuring out which one's which. So I'm starting up here and going around clockwise. Alright, so do that for each one. And then let's reload that. So I have bracket 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that one looks like it's misspelled. So I'm going to go and change that. Alright. And let's load that into our SpiderPanel. Overwrite with parameters, and then let's click on each one of these. Oh, and I forgot to make a couple of them. 3 and 4 apparently aren't instances, so we need to go back in and make sure that happens. So 3, modify instance. 4, modify instance. Okay, apply. Good. Alright, load in and overwrite. Alright, so now we just need to figure out which one of these is which. So start here at the top, and we'll see if that happens to be bracket 1. So apparently Something's wrong. Okay, I'm going to go back into that. Let's make sure each one of these gets assigned to the right one. So if this is bracket 1, this one, bracket 2, this one, bracket 3, this one, bracket 4. Okay. And load into project. Sorry for the mistakes, but sometimes that's the best way to learn. So that's bracket 1. Let's see if this works. Grab the bracket and see if that happens to be 2. Bracket 3. Bracket 4. Okay, great. Alright, so that should be it. We'll load that into our project. Overwrite the parameters. And we really shouldn't see much difference, but the difference will be if it disappears on you like this, just go ahead and save the project, and it should come back after you save. So if we tab through until we select one panel, we should see that the only the corner brackets are the ones that are highlighted. So it looks good. One last thing to look at when considering this panel is to look at its parameters. Make sure everything's working. So let's go ahead and click on the panel and edit type. And we'll see right off that we don't have one thing. We have the glass thickness, but we don't have the length of standoff. So we're going to need to go into the SpiderPanel, and let's go ahead and add a parameter called length standoff. Oh. And click on each one of these, and or actually just one of them. Go to edit type and change the length standoff to conform to that one. So this is what, I may not have given it a length. Yeah, so you need to actually give it something. We'll just make it something a little bit different so that we can see if it changes everything. Alright, now go ahead and edit type. And we'll move it out of the way, and we'll go ahead and assign it the length standoff. So this is what I meant by passing on the variables. I didn't watch it, I guess, carefully. You probably saw it. Oh, there it is, extended when I applied. Okay, so that looks like that'll work. We'll load that into project, and so the last thing to do is to make sure that it actually affects everything. So let's go in and grab one of these guys. Actually, just grab the whole thing, edit type. And we have glass thickness. Let's call it like 1 foot, something obnoxious, and we'll turn this back to 2 feet. We'll make sure that everything got passed on and is working correctly. Yep, looks good, looks obnoxious, perfect. Turn this back to 1 inch, leave that at 2 feet, and then we should be good to go.